But what would you have loved to see surprises?
Actually, with the introduction of card readers, I would want to see a credible election that I can see, I can feel, I can touch, you know. But when the card reader failed, especially in some states where the trials failed, for example, in my state, Ebonyi State, you had the card reader testing, trial, had a 90% failure during the trial, and it failed during the election, which tells me there was no effort to make it to work, to correct the anomalies. So the card reader, to me, as far as I'm concerned, is a contradiction. I look forward to it with so much expectation to see it to deliver credible election to me. And when I start seeing those results I used to see that we were crying, we've been advocating against, we've been protesting against over the years, that these things, when we see it, we feel that there is no credible election, and still come back to me, and there's allegations of rigging, even burning of INEC office, counter-rigging allegation, then it shows me that the card reader, to me, is a contradiction.
Let me bring you Professor Oyebode here, because you said you didn't quite see some difference. But knowing full well that General Buhari is not a new entrant in this particular game, let's look at two specific states that stood out for me while I was following the results all night: Kwara and Ondo. Specifically, Kwara State, the General has never won Kwara State in any of the elections he's contested in, or whether in CPC or in APP. Let's look at this particular one and see what could have caused this victory for him in Kwara State. Then we'll also explore what could have transpired in Ondo as well.
Well, I'll go back to what Chief Awolowo said. I believe it was in '81 when he suggested that there was going to be a realignment of forces, that the dialectical process was inexorable. Okay, it was going to operate willy-nilly, that the progressives will band together and the conservatives, if you don't want to call them reactionaries, the status quo people, will also gravitate towards one another. So that Awolowo's prophecy is what has come to light. But what I found more intriguing is the Southwest. You know, it seems that the Awo mantra, you know, is waning a little bit, because you could see very sophisticated political culture demonstrated in the Southwest. It's not a zero-sum game. The votes were split. Okay, the majority carried, but not in the way we expected. Look at Osun, very close. Ondo that you mentioned, Mimiko is in trouble over managing PDP, because he has opponents with Jimo Ibrahim, with Shola Oke. It's not really in firm grip, because it's a recent decampee. He's decamped almost 3 times. So much so that you now can't, if he says good morning, you have to check your watch before you answer him back. Now, Kwara, there's been a realignment of forces. It seems the Saraki magic is still waxing strong in a place like Kwara. But what really look at it, I don't know if Lagos has been declared.
Not yet.
No,
Not
okay.
yet. Not yet. So we're just looking at those.
So I'm saying I was going to talk about the Southwest. Political sophistication. That tickled me. Unlike what I saw in Enugu State. I don't understand how, you know, the opposition party will score 14,000 votes and PDP will score 90-something%. I don't understand that. What's the logic?
I have it here. They have 17 local government areas, and of course, as well, the same 14 parties. Accredited votes, 616,112. Total votes cast, 573,173. And of course, they have a rejected number, which is 12,459. But if you look at it, looking at the rejected number, and you put that with what is happening, talking about strongholds, I want to go back to our prophecy, which you call it. Don't you think this realignment is what has also occurred here, talking about strongholds and where they truly would swing their votes to Enugu, just the way we looked at a couple of other places like Kwara? The individuals and maybe the political giants in such places can actually help those they are supporting ultimately to sway votes in favor of where they stand?
Well, I don't know. If you look at Imo State, for instance, the results have been declared, I believe.
Yes.
And General Buhari scored 400 and something thousand.
133,000.
And the PDP
Scored 559.
So that for me is a remarkable sweep, despite the charisma of Rochas Okorocha and all that. So it seems that it's still money in creation day as far as real political clashes are concerned.
Yeah, but if
Another intriguing thing which I don't understand is Nasarawa, where you had 70-something thousand votes discounted from our practice, and the gap was so narrow. And I believe, in fact, one of the parties said they're going to go to the tribunal on that. How can you discountenance 79,000 votes?
Yeah, in Canada, about 40-something thousand.
No, I'm talking of the margin between the two parties.
Yes, when the margin
Yeah.
is, it
It's
could
narrow.
have swung it
Either way. Precisely. So, again, there are rough edges. But again, something that I read in the papers in your studio this morning, the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission saying that more than 50 Nigerians died in the elections. It's one of the papers, I think Vanguard. If the Human Rights Commission has tallied the number to be more than 50 Nigerians have died, then we should eat humble pie in congratulating ourselves that we are the greatest things in sliced bread. There are problems with the electoral process. The president himself said nobody's blood should be spilled for his own advancement or for whoever's ambition. So something is all right with our political process.
But, if we're looking at, say, states, Enugu, for some people, proved no surprises in the sense that the ruling party in the state is the PDP. They've never voted General Buhari, because you should also note that in these elections, people also vote personalities. In some areas, what you'd expect is that they're not voting for the parties, but for the personalities there. They've never voted for General Buhari, and they've never voted any other party aside the PDP. But if you look at, say, Kano, for instance, where you have 1.9 million people voting for the APC and 215,000. It's not even up to, a fraction of that, of the votes for the APC. In a state that also used to have PDP presence, the former governor was, beg your pardon, the current governor used to be in the PDP before he finally decamped to the APC. If you look at that and you also look at Kaduna, for instance, where you have 1.12 million votes for the APC as compared to 484 that's supposed to be the state of the vice president, and also a PDP-dominated state. So how can we explain this?
Well, it's simple for me. General Buhari is a folk hero in the northern part of the country. In fact, one of the prime movers of his party told me long time ago, when we were still in the confab, way back in July, that General Buhari is their silver bullet. It's the magic formula because it has the greatest mass appeal in the north. Then don't forget that Kano and Lagos have the largest number of, well, you might say theoretically, voters. When we hear what transpired in Lagos, we'll be able to compare with what happened in Kano. Kwankwaso is a miracle worker with his red caps and mass following, mass appeal. So I agree with you, Mark, that persons might matter more than the party symbols.